So last time we chatted, I had not seen your documentary. It had not come out yet. I rented it the day that it was available, and I have to tell you guys that documentary could have been about anything. If you only kept the movie on mute and just watched it, I have to say, absolutely beautiful. You guys did an amazing job visually. That was incredible to watch. So congratulations just
Aw,
on that one level.
Thank you.
that means so much to us. That's so sweet.
I mean, you have the synthetic dyes give it like the bright and vibrant kind of colors. But yeah, if you told me that this was, somebody who'd made like 10 documentaries, they perfected their craft and got really good at like a Netflix quality kind of documentary, and you guys did that on your first try, like that's insane. You guys have Oscar awards in your future or something because you did an
Oh no.
amazing job.
Well,
Well, thank you.
luckily, I mean, this is our first film, but I make videos and photos every single day for a living. So wasn't my first endeavor into making things look good and sound good. Like that's what I do for a job. It's most of it's like commercial work, short form commercials and things like that. So luckily that was in our back pocket, which is probably one of the reasons we felt like we could even take this on. Obviously, we say a lot that we were naively, what do I say?
You always say naively
Yeah, we were
optimistic.
naively optimistic. We're like, we can make videos. I do videos every day. It can't be that hard. And of course, it was a lot of work, but we had the making the actual video look good. We had that down.
Yeah.
So
And then also, like, I'm a former teacher and then I went into marketing. So we also have that like skill set. So it was good for us to have our own like focus as we worked on this film together. Like, we kind of divided and conquered. I like from teaching, like, you kind of know how to break down concepts and you know that people can't they can't consume every single aspect about synthetic dyes. So we chose a few key takeaways that we wanted to, have throughout our entire documentary. And I think that just sticking to those basics, I think overall was really good because we wanted this to be a documentary that anyone could watch and anyone could consume. And I think, the only somewhat negative feedback we've had has really been from like a scientist that's been in the field. They're like, oh, there's so much more you could talk about. And of course, there is so much more, but we wanted this to be something that was easy to digest, and not necessarily that was a criticism, but that they would love like a companion book or something that kind of dove deeper into like the scientific aspects of it. But it was important to us that it was, easy to digest. And so it was good that we had like kind of our own skill sets, and we directed different aspects of it. And then, Brandon, luckily, he's one of these odd people that can really do anything really well. Like, from he has remodeled our entire house to like he composed all the music. He
Wow.
obviously filmed everything. He edited everything himself, and we really kind of put the story together, working through it together and storyboarding together. But like, he is unique in that he really can creatively, like, I legitimately think he's probably a creative genius because I don't know anybody else that can do that many that can perform those many skills at such a high level. But Brandon toured in his 20s, like toured in a band, so his music skills kind of came in handy because, we really didn't have the budget to do this. Like, this is legitimately something that we just as a couple were like, okay, let's do this. We didn't have any funding. We funded the first part out of our pockets, out of our savings, and then we did some small crowdfunding. But a big portion of our documentary was funded like literally from our savings. And so we wanted to steward that money really well. So literally every single aspect that we could possibly do, we had to do it outside of, like, of course, we're not lawyers. We had to hire a lawyer. We're not consultants, so we had to hire a consultant. So there are certain aspects that we couldn't do, but anything that was within our wheelhouse, like, we just had to do it and to save the money. And I think one really good thing about that is, like, I believe that creativity comes out of
desperation.
scarcity,
Yeah.
and like, if you don't have the same resources as a big film, you can be more creative. And I think some of the decisions that we made were better because we were forced to be creative.
Wow. Brandon, how do you respond to that? That's pretty high praise from your wife there.
Well, that's very nice of her. It is. I do feel like it's probably a rare instance to have a skill set. And I'm not the best editor in the world. I'm not the best sound guy in the world, but I have a good enough understanding. I've always, I've worked on projects as a photographer where they brought in a film crew or vice versa, or I've worked as the film side, and then they'll bring in another photographer. So like I've seen other people work, and a lot of times people favor bigger crews. A lot of people that they would prefer to have techs and grips and things like that. I've always tried to work with as few people as possible. Most of the jobs that I do, I have an assistant that's a really good friend of mine, and if I can do the job with just the two of us, it may take a little longer to set things up and do things like that. But I don't love managing a ton of people, so I've always kind of had this like mindset of like keep it as small as possible, and so that kind of served me well here, and that's caused me to have to learn how to capture audio correctly and learn how to color grade correctly and things like that, just because I don't know, I've never had a goal to like be an employer and have like lots of people under me, so I've always just tried to do as much of it myself.
Well, truthfully, that is not one of his skill sets. Working with other people creatively is not his skill set. So we can throw that out there.
I have a very unique, like a very particular way of doing things, and I like to do things the way that I like to do it. So I've always liked to work small. And so a lot of people, we do feel like we may do some consulting in the future. And I don't know that the way we did it, I don't know that we will actually, really be able to recommend, do this with just two people. I wouldn't recommend making a movie with two people. We did it, and we made it work, but there are some aspects that probably would have been easier if we would have had, other people doing certain things. But like Whitney said, we didn't come from a film background, and trying to raise $100,000 or $200,000 to create a documentary, which is what you would need if you were going to be working with a lot of people, that wasn't in the cards. Could we do that on the next film? Maybe. I think now we have some credibility and some like proof of concept. We've made a documentary that's done well and has actually caused some legislative movement. So probably in the future, if we decide to do another one, we could raise more money and have more people be a part of it. But this first time, that just wasn't in the cards, so we made the best with what we had.
No big deal. No big deal. Just knocked it out of the park on your first try doing everything yourself. Yeah, I like watching it. If you told me there wasn't, a sound crew, there wasn't a professional editor, there wasn't some, overarching like director telling the story, it's just really impressive that you were able to execute all of that, and so beautifully done as well. And you hear about filmmakers. You kind of have to make your movie to be a certain standard to land on a platform such as Netflix. Now you guys are on, I believe I rented yours on Amazon Prime. I believe you're on Apple, and there's a few others. But you guys were shooting for a certain standard to be able to be on the highest quality platforms available, correct?
Right.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean that was the plan. Like I said, people pay me pretty good money to do these on a commercial level. So like quality we never questioned the quality. We knew our film was going to be good quality. Like that's what I do for a living. So like we knew that was going to be the hardest thing was taking all this footage. And with a documentaries are a different kind of animal. You can script and plan as much as you want, but if you're doing a documentary that has interviews, you have no idea what these people are going to say before you do it. And so the way we went about this, we basically we knew certain points that we wanted to hit in the documentary. And so we interviewed people with these certain questions in mind. Sometimes the interviews revealed things that we didn't know, and so those became part of the film. But basically what it was is we filmed 80% of the interviews before we even started putting the film together. And then we just had to go sit through and watch them and, make a list. Okay, this person's talking about this subject here. And Whitney's written, this isn't my strong suit. I'm normally like, okay, let's use that. Whitney is very organized. So we sat down and we watched it. We time coded everything. And so she made like this part right here is about section or red 3. And this is where this person talks about it. And so we were able to go back and find those pieces whenever I was editing. So that worked out good. But it was just when we were filming, we didn't necessarily have a super clear outline. It was a very vague outline, and the film just kind of evolves and becomes what it becomes as you start to put it together. So